All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Miela Fetaw. I'm a journalist and filmmaker in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I just want to thank you all for joining this exciting conversation, Lighting the Black Body, a conversation on lighting, diverse casting, and representation, a genre queer and Black lens collaboration. In 2014, Black Lens was created with a singular focus to spotlight the incredible work of Black filmmakers by bringing their films to the Milwaukee Film Festival. These filmmakers explore stories and topics that are rooted in the Black community but are relevant to a variety of audiences. Black Lens features fiction and documentary films from emerging and established voices and hosts events that inspire conversation, celebration, and community, like we're doing tonight. Spotlighting the best in documentary and fiction filmmaking that explores LGBTQ plus lives, genre queer amplifies both new and established voices from cinema's rich queer tradition. Before we get started, I would like to do a land acknowledgement. A land acknowledgement is a formal statement that pays tribute and respect to the original inhabitants of the land. I think land acknowledgements are extremely important to not only show solidarity to our Indigenous brothers and sisters, but to also recognize their enduring relationship to the land. So, for example, while I live in Milwaukee, I'm currently in Charlotte, North Carolina, known as the Catawba, Waxhaw, Chira, and Sugiri peoples. I invite everyone in the comments to share where you're tuning in from and acknowledge and honor these lands that you reside in. Tonight's conversation centers and showcases the voices of Black people. I want to ask everyone that's joining in tonight to be mindful that while many of us creatives are making art, we are also fighting on the front lines. There are no days off for Black people when it comes to this pandemic and the continuous injustice and systemic racism that we face. None of us are exempt from it. So please show up beyond being on this call, support Black people, support Black artists, Black businesses, support the important and incredible programming work that Black Lens constantly creates. This is who we are, this is what we do. This next hour is a safe space where we can speak our truth. I would also like to remind people that all Black lives matter. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our incredible panelists and some of my dearest friends, Lilo Allen, Mahdi Gransberry, and Corey Fells. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey,
Please introduce yourselves. What's your name? What pronouns do you identify as? And what are your jobs? Lilo, let's start with you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lilo Allen, owner of Papyrus and Charms and co founder of the Brownsville Collective MKE. I am a poet, I am a jeweler, I love my community. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you. Corey, what about you?
hey, I am a aspiring filmmaker, a fine art photographer, and all-around creative. I work for No Studios as a business development manager, and I work for Leaders Igniting Transformation as a cultural organizer and also as a creative consultant.
Great. And Mahdi?
My name is Mahdi Gransberry. I am a local photographer. Was something else I was supposed to say besides jobs and title?
Your
Your
pro-
pronouns.
Pronouns. He, him, his.
Okay, great. Thank you all. So, first question of the night. When was the first time that you saw yourself in film, television, or visual art? And how old were you? Corey, you already unmuted yourself. Go ahead.
To be very honest, it wasn't probably until within the last 5 or 6 years. Um, I didn't know how intrinsic movies were in my life until very recently, where maybe COVID kind of helped me out a little bit more about it. But we had a routine in my household. Every single Friday, my mom would pick me up from school, and we would go straight to Blockbuster, and we'll go to Blockbuster to get one movie for kids. That'll be for me for that night. And then one family movie. And then there's another movie that's kind of we've been anticipating and watching. And she had a Blockbuster card, so she got two for free. And the third one was for half off. And on top of that, we would get that's the only time we would get like fast food. So we'll get like some churches, we'll get some Popeyes, or we'll get a nice little TV dinner. I was an advocate for TV dinners. I was a weird kid like that. But it was those moments of watching Spike Lee, watching John Singleton movies, and just sitting down. And you know how Black people can't stop talking during a movie. So my mom was like, "Hey, pay attention to this. Pay attention to that. Look, you see that? You see that?" And I'm just sitting there like, "All right, mom, just calm down." And just scary movies, just a whole plethora of just like Black movies, from Brooklyn, or Vampire in Brooklyn, to Masterpiece, Bout It. There's so many beautiful movies that are just created by Black people, and I just wanted to be a part of it.
I love that. These young people don't know what Blockbuster is.
They don't.
Nothing about Bout It, and about Master P. None of them.
Lilo, what about you?
That was a very interesting answer that Corey gave. I can say I don't remember feeling being seen until very late in my adulthood. So, for example, me feeling the completeness of like our Black emotion, I didn't feel that until I saw If Beale Street Could Talk. Like, I think I cried about 75% of the film, and I'm okay with that. But it just felt so real to me. And then seeing Get Out felt like it was one big family inside conversation. There was so much nuance. There was so many things that you had to be Black to understand to see that film. And I felt so seen in that movie. So those would have to be my two favorites.
Dope. And Mahdi?
Probably I haven't been able to really see myself in a character until a few years ago when Insecure came on, and like character Lawrence really, I feel like, did a lot for Black male representation of emotion and kind of like what we go through. Like, he's a very relatable Black man. Like, everybody knows Lawrence.
Are you part of the Lauren Tide?
Lawrence who?
Oh, okay.
Huh?
This is not
What are you talking about?
space. Thank you. I'm sorry. You said Insecure and you mentioned Lawrence, and I'm like, this conversation could go so sideways. That's not. We won't get into that. To Mahdi and Corey, both of you are extremely well known, especially in Milwaukee. Corey, you are the man behind 100 Women and 20 Men. Mahdi, you recently had your first solo gallery exhibition titled Everywhere and Nowhere. What motivates you both to keep picking up a camera? And what do you both hope to accomplish with your work and to continue accomplishing with your work?
I would probably say it's being able to have those stories, or at least those photographs that mean something. Like I said, a lot of my inspiration and a lot of my work in like right now and just for the future references family. And we have this nice working photo book that just pretty much just talks about just the family history from beginning until end. And my grandmother has photos of her grandmother and so on and so forth, and just really means a lot. And so when it comes to that, photographers from like Andre Wagner to Dre Lee to even current like photographers here in the city inspire me so much. And I just want to tell a story. I just always want to be able to kind of connect people.
No.
With me, it's kind of like, this might sound a little strange, but I feel like if I don't make the images that I want to see, I probably won't see them. That's kind of like what keeps me going. Just there's always things that I want to see in the world that I may just need to just suck up and do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's very it's a very personal feeling of just if I can put these out there because I want to see them, there's also someone else that's probably looking for these images too.
I love that. That reminds me of this incredible quote by Toni Morrison, where she says, if there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. So I love this, this ideology that you stand behind, Mahdi. What are some examples of standout cinematography that you've seen in film or TV? Lilo, could we start with you?
Yeah, I think the obvious choice would be Moonlight. It was beautifully shot. And to see the way, just even like the posters, and the art for the film, seeing how black, dark skinned black folks were just completely covered in light was absolutely beautiful. I also think that outside of how we personally feel about the film, Queen and Slim was immaculate. Um, the the way the movie was shot, the place felt like a character in itself. It was alive, you know. The the shots of the ocean, of the horses, of the trees, it just all felt very real. And it's probably two of my favorite shot films.
I could not agree with you more. Corey, what about you?
I'll say two. Moonlight and Last Black Man in San Francisco. Two immaculately well shot films. Especially there's an art in taking photos and video of dark, rich skin with color light. That within itself, Beyonce said it herself. You can't take photos of black skin under purple lights.
You said
And
don't put black girls in blue light. Yep.
blue light, exactly. My bad, Miss Queen Bee. Um, but yeah, it is actual real art because you want to be able to take the richness of a dark skinned person and the color. You don't want to take either one of them away. You want those to be able to just kind of sit within the same photo or the frame just beautifully together. And those two films do it so well. And then even with that, the history of how film was just up until the 90s, films were horrible at taking like video or photos of dark skin while there's like a paler complexion next to them. So always kind of like compensated for just more of the light skin complexion, and then the dark skin was just always either flushed out or either just super dark. Nowadays, just those type of films, whether it's actual shot on film or it is used on Technicolor, they're shot so well, and then the directors behind them have a great understanding of how to light them and not to kind of like take away their beauty.
I love that. Monty?
Just in terms of modern films or just modern media in general, I can't quite ignore the good work that's going on television too. Just between shows like Insecure, between Dear White People has some great cinematography too on Netflix. Just there's a lot of great work happening, and I guess with film, I really like Last Black Man in San Francisco, just like Corey said. But really there's so much great photography happening that it's kind of hard to pin down like who's doing it the best, because they all kind of have their strong suits for different reasons. Like Bill Street could talk had this lovely dreamlike quality to it, and then Queen and Slim, like, aside from the movie itself, just the cinematography, just it was very raw, very real. The colors were beautiful. But even taking it back to like Do the Right Thing is a gorgeous film too. Last year at the Oriental Theater, I believe there was a 4K showing of it, and it was just gorgeous. I was like, wow, these colors just do something completely different on film. Same with Love and Basketball, which we also showed at the Oriental Theater. Movie itself, but it's shot on Fujifilm. No, it's shot on Fujifilm. Oh, which stock is it? I can't remember what the film stock is called, but it's by Fujifilm, and like the colors in that film too also look really good, especially for something from that period where film was being more mishandled than earlier. Like it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, I was going to say we're not about to get into love and basketball right now because I know Corey has some personal feelings, and that really is going to steer the conversation. But go ahead, Lilo. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say I absolutely agree with Mahdi about the great work that's happening in television. And something that I've been noticing as I'm watching Insecure is that they play a lot with complementary colors. I think for anybody who saw last week's episode, everybody knows what I'm talking about when Lawrence and Issa stood with green and red lights, and they had the kind of green and red outfits on. And I noticed too that when the episode with Molly went on vacation with Bay, there was a lot of these complementary orange and blue scenes, and just like the vibrancy of color, it just combined with these like really richly skinned people, it's beautiful.
I'm sorry, Miela. I'm sorry for not mentioning this. Belly is one of the most beautifully shot.
Yeah.
Even the intro itself is so iconic. Oh my God. I'm sorry for the comments.
I see it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, y'all.
Belly does have some really great shots, especially when they get to what was it, Cuba in that film, or was it Mexico? I can't remember.
I think it was
in a long time.
I think it had to been Jamaica. That's when DMX went to
Jamaica. Yep, that's right. Like especially like just the color shift from what they were doing just in the city down to Jamaica, like where it was very warm, but not like that puke warm like they do nowadays for like hot places. Like when it's like just really like, what is this, gross and just dingy? Like it looked beautiful and vibrant.
Speaking of just the vibrance and light, what are some tips and tricks that you've learned when it comes to lighting Black skin? Are there any particular photographers or cinematographers that you feel make up your own creative blueprint?
There is photographers such as Mark LeKinnon. He is a photographer in New York who does really great work. I try to look at his work on Instagram when it comes to a lot of his personal work, but he doesn't like to show it on Instagram. He has it more archived, but he'll show it on his stories. But there's another photographer by the name of Draley. She didn't just do a photo shoot, but she did a photo shoot with Pierre Moss. If anyone knows Pierre Moss at all, it is a luxury Black brand or Black designer brand. And if you have a few seconds, I would love to show that if that's possible, Miela.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Well, I have an example of one of my photos that I did when I was in New York, and it was a very rich, dark chocolate Black woman that that I had to be able to make sure her skin was going to complement, or not her skin complementing the clothes, but the clothes is going to complement her skin. Mm-hmm. So as you're able to see, sat on a very dark couch with like the lamp itself is like at a dark brown, but the light is mainly focused on her and her red blouse. On top of that, there is a blue desk or like a nightstand right next to the couch. And that's just kind of worked itself out. It just works so beautifully. And that goes back to the complementary colors that Lilo was just saying. I want to head over, that's a document. Pierre Moss. So these photos were shot on film. And as you're able to see, a lot of times what film does, it only goes to the most pale skin and then goes from there. As you're able to see, 4 different skin tones within this one photograph, and they're all given their respective lighting. As we go further, you're able to see, even when it comes to outside, the lighting can be very harsh sometimes on a darker skin. But I think that was just more or less the artistic creativity that Draley was trying to have out. But she repaired it here in the first photo here. You can keep on going, but you can just see there's a very rich dark skin with a more lighter skin, and it's not taken away from either or. So yeah, so when it comes to photography and film, just it's just amazing how much technology is advanced and how critically black photographers and brown photographers pay attention to that different gradient of skin tones.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And that photo that you took in Brooklyn, I mean, I always think that Black people invented every single color, but the way that that red sits on her is stunning. Stunning. Kudos to you. And Mahdi, throwing the question back at you, do you have any tips and tricks that you've learned when lighting Black skin?
Yes. Matter of fact, like there's big differences bet- between how you would light black skin versus white skin, where white skin is very reflective. Uh, Black skin, it's more like absorbent, like of the light, like and the color. So typically, you'd want to use like soft light or bounce lighting, so you could get these like softer highlights on black skin, and so you can really not overlight black skin, because that's super easy to get wrong, is overlighting black skin. Sorry. And as well as when working with like color, like it's good to do it like on like rim lights or edge lights, hair lights, which is just like a light in the back, which will like give a little detail, like the edge on the edge of the head, if that's making sense. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my words together, and I was also trying to find a photo in a book that illustrates this, like how you can kind of see the work of this photographer here. It's just very soft in the skin. Like you don't want that. Like you don't want harsh highlights. You want them to kind of bloom.
Thank you.
Because that's also what they do a lot with Insecure, is like soft small practicals. So like sometimes like the really good bar shots, you'll see them have like a china ball, which is just like a paper lantern with a bulb in it, and that's the whole light. Like that's it. No too fancy, not fancy like HKs in the back or anything pumping in lots of light, just very like small warm lights.
Even when like they're driving in the car, if you see a lot of films, they'll have like this light that sits on the subject's lap that will be like harshly put on them, and it looks so unauthentic. Who drives around with lamps on their laps? No one. But when it comes to films that actually filmmakers know what they're doing, they use the street lights. A lot of sometimes they replace the street light bulbs with like these lights that are a little bit more catered towards film, and it just hits on the person's face a lot easier. I was going to say slap, but it hits on the person's face a lot easier. And it goes especially with that, what Mahdi says, it's the combination of so many things. Makeup artists being able to also reflect true like skin, and also the person that's gaffer that's working on the lighting, and also the photographer or the director of photography and the director, the DP, are the two different DPs that will be able to set on scene to make sure that it's taken care of, that the light is definitely paid attention to. Like right now, Miela, you got a certain type of light that's hitting on you right now, and you going ahead just shining. Same thing with you, Lilo. You don't want that much shine on you, but you still letting it hit.
I can't stand you. This
And
is just
wait,
a reminder.
just real quick, sorry.
No,
Sorry,
go
and
ahead.
real quick too, just bounce off of just to bounce off of Corey. We were working on a project for him last summer, and like in those behind the scenes shots, I don't know if you have any up that you can pull up, but
Oh, boss, I got you, boss.
but you can see that we have lots of different flags and diffusion out to control and shape the light to make it a little bit softer. There's not really a particular type of light that works best as hair lights, but you would want something kind of small, like a smaller light, or even just something that can be put up high and tilted down.
Okay. While Corey brings up those photos, we have some questions from our viewers. And viewers, please, if you have questions, don't feel the need to wait until the end. Feel free to drop them in. So we have a question, two questions from Rakesh. Mahdi, have you found some types of lights that work better as those hair lights on dark hair and skin?
Like I was saying, it's not really about the light as much as the quality that you want it to be. Like you can have a hard like edge light, and that works fine. So that would be just like a bare bulb light. Or if you want like a softer roll off, you can take that light and say it's bounced in like a corner of a wall to get a softer light, or just throw some diffusion paper or muslin over it to get it even softer for an even softer fall off.
Great, thank you. And another question from Rakesh for Corey. When you're photographing lighter and darker black skin tones, do you split the composure between the two, or do you color correct in post?
To be very honest, I try to do as minimal amount of work in post, because then I can just put the photos out as soon as possible. I feel like post really takes away from like the richness of the moment. I'm a moment type of person. I love to live in the moment. I let my photos sit in the moment. And to be very honest, on top of that, I always have somebody that helps me out when it comes to lighting, because I have the worst eyesight in the world. So it's ironic that I'm even a photographer, but I have somebody on hand to kind of just give me a little bit of understanding of like light. So I may not be the most technical person, but I try to look through the lens to see if it just looks right. I also have a light meter. A light meter is kind of expensive for some people, but that light meter is kind of like a cheat code for me. So it's measured by foot candles. So I get to kind of see what do I need to do in my ISOs with my actual digital camera to just kind of make sure everything works out. So I'm sorry, Rakesh. I don't have some very like technical answer or anything like that, because I try to bypass that as much as possible. But yeah, I just use a lot of cheat codes. I use people, or either use like some technology to kind of help me out with the lighting.
Great, thank you. And you have the photo ready for us that Mahdi was referring to earlier, right?
Yep, I do. Just want to share it, and it's on Mahdi's page actually. So this is the one you were talking about, Mahdi? I think you're on mute, boss.
Yeah, you're on mute, Mahdi.
I thought you had some of the behind the scenes shots on your page.
I didn't know if you wanted me to get photos of myself, but all right. I twisted my arm. Why don't you?
This is
no,
the
actually,
shouting
I
your
found the post
workout.
that I'm talking about too.
All right, well, you're talking about these?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can kind of see in the corner there that there's like big diffusion sheets. We're flagging off parts of the windows to direct light and just really trying to get that softer look that we were going for with the light. Same with, you can see some small lights in some of the shots too. Like those are like were hair lights or just for a bounce on the ceiling to get some more edge light.
Great, thank you. These shots are beautiful. I have to ask, just shifting quickly to the further, importance of representation and diverse casting. Lilo, you've not only been in front of the camera to model your brand, Papyrus and Charms, but you've also played a huge behind the scenes role, from selecting models, working with photographers, and even taking a lead with creative direction. Can you elaborate on your process? Like, how do you select your models? How do you select your photographers? What goes into your mind when making decisions regarding color and light?
So one of my biggest goals whenever I'm organizing a shoot is to ensure that there's a spectrum of skin tone representation. And one shoot, I wasn't able to get very many brown skinned women or women that were darker than me for the shoot. So I said, let's actually have a photo shoot where only deeply, richly brown skinned women were highlighted. And that was shot with JoJo West, who's a really, really dope photographer. And as a dark skinned brown woman, or a brown woman herself, you know, she was really good about choosing the backdrops and the lights that just worked so beautifully with the model's skin. Actually, I'll pull up a couple of those photos, but I always want to make sure that I'm highlighting darker skinned folks in my work, and showing just the different richness of tones. I think the last photo shoot that we did, there was a person of Asian descent. We had Afro Panamanian people represented. Myself, we had we had biracial folks represented. We had a person that has albinism. So it's just always important to me to show a range of skin tones. And one of my favorite photographers to use is actually Mahdi. Mahdi is really, really great at capturing skin tones and also just showing how beautiful skin can be, right? So some people are good at taking nice pictures of pretty people. I think one of the great things that Mahdi does is shows just how beautiful and rich skin itself can be. And that's why he's always my go-to.
I love that. Speaking of just skin and the beauty of skin, Chelsea Henderson has a question. She asks, what are the main complexities, if any, of shooting a plus size Black body?
Let me unmute myself. I think that one of the major things isn't so much as light as it is angles, right? If you want to capture a plus size body in all its glory, I think a lot of folks who don't understand what it means to be plus or haven't really shot a lot of plus people, they shoot plus people straight on, or they shoot like from these weird angles that can sometimes be like from below looking up, and that just isn't always flattering. I think it's important to find like lighting angles to show, one, the shapes and the curves, right? But two, also just to highlight the figure that we don't often get to see. So like I want to see the belly roll, I want to see the side fat, I want to see all of that, and not this cropped from the waist up type of photography that folks do and call it inclusion, or the pivoted side post where we're focusing on like the rump as opposed to the entire body. So some of my critiques for
Call people out, okay?
You know, like,
they love to do a headshot. They love to just.
They love a good headshot. Like we're past that. You're gonna see everything.
I love that. I love that. Gentlemen, do you guys want to chime in?
Most definitely. I think that when it comes to women with their plus size, I think you just have to take in the moment. Like I said before, you have to be able to just, a lot of people try to make these awkward photos of just this person just posing and trying to be sexy. Not everybody's sexy. Not everybody, that's not their first or biggest attribute. Some women are just some people are just complex. And so take the photo that's, that represents them the most. So if this person is very giddy and very, very funny and goofy, and this person happens to be plus size, show that. If there you want to show like the curvatures of just like a very plus size man or woman, show that. Show what it means to be plus size if you're in that position, especially with lighting, making sure you're taking care of like what type of environment you're going to be taking these photos in. You can't be trying to take a photo inside of like a diner or whatever like that. That's just so passe. It's so cliche. Everyone does that. Try to be more creative with who you have and how you're taking photos.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I think also a lot of plus size photography, it does fetishize the body instead of showing the person as a whole, you know. And I'm absolutely obviously here for body positivity and inclusivity in that way, but I want it to be about more than that. So when I do photo shoots about myself, it's about my full womanhood, you know. And so for my, I believe it was my 28th birthday, I did a shoot with Mahdi, and it was, I guess you can call it sexy, but like I didn't wear a bra. I was really natural. I had my afro out, and the focus wasn't necessarily the sexiness, but the focus was me being my natural self, and that just happens to be sexy. And I think that read really well on the pictures, and I think folks were able to relate to that.
I love that. Yeah, I think, and let me just add, there are people in the comments shouting you guys, Corey and Mahdi, shouting you both out for your work. But I mean, even in the past, when I shot with both of you, it was strictly photography. There wasn't any mention, you know, we didn't have to adjust for lighting or angles because of my bigger Black body. I was just being Black and being a woman. So shout out to you both for constantly one, not only pushing the bar, but also reminding us that as plus size bodies, you know, we don't have to be sexy. That isn't
Exactly.
that doesn't have to be the agenda. So shout out to y'all.
No, y'all two are the beautiful subjects. We thank you.
Thank you guys.
Oh, thank
I'm
you.
actually going to pull up and share a couple of those photos.
Please, yes, these behind the scenes.
It was such a joy to work with Mahdi. So, but actually, Mahdi and Corey are probably two of the most professional photographers that I've ever just experienced. And they have a way of pulling out that umph of you without making you feel commodified or objectified. So I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. I think I'm sharing my screen. Can you guys see it?
Sis.
Oh no. I tried.
You can send it to me. You can send it to me, Lilo, in the chat, and I'll just share it.
Oh, okay. Well, that works.
Okay, so speaking of, just continuing to talk about lighting, there was an article titled "How Film Finally Learned to Light Black Skin" by writer and director Nadia Latif, and she said specifically, it's not simply about Black skin just appearing on screen. It's about quality, not quantity. It's about the universe of Blackness appearing in all its different glorious ways. It's about moving past the light-skinned, straight-haired Blackness of the past to embrace the dark skin and natural hair of our future. What does this quote mean to you, y'all? Do you feel like the universe of Blackness is expanding in lighting and casting and representation?
I will let the gentle folks answer that one.
Go ahead, Corey, as Lilo's pulling up her photos.
Yeah, no, I was just reading I was watching a documentary about how film with Kodak had to learn how to be able to take photos of Black and brown skin. Lilo, do you want to chop, or you want to talk a little bit about these photos a little bit before I try to dive in?
Yeah, sorry guys, I just figured out how to share a screen. So this was, like I said, my birthday photo shoot. And like I said, I didn't have a bra on. It was very simple. Initially, my hair was straight. And then I was like, what am I doing? I want to be my natural self. It's my birthday. So I washed my press and curl out. And we just did something that was just like so simple and beautiful. Like it was just a white dress. Thank you. And then here is a couple of shots from the shoot with JoJo West. And again, like these, I was super intentional about having very dark skinned women in this photo shoot. And the way that she was able to capture them and make them look like matte, but like not muddied, you know what I mean? Like they look beautiful. This one, I really love the fact that Malika, you can still see how brown she is, but her face is like beautifully highlighted. And then we have this one is probably one of my favorite shots. This is how beautiful her skin is and how rich it like is complementing with the orange background. Like JoJo, she really aced this shot. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys.
Lilo, could you go back to your birthday sultry photo? I was hoping Mahdi could walk us through some of the lighting choices behind that shoot.
Oh, sure. Let me think, because this was 2019. Let me get back into that zone. I believe it was just there was one massive light. Well, not massive, like it was kind of small, but it was bright. One bright light that's off to Lilo's right side. You can see where the shadows are coming from the door frame, kind of just lighting just to light up that one side. And since the room was all white, the light was just bouncing all over the space, so it just made it very soft. Not much in terms of front light, not much in terms of front lighting, but I think with that shot, the side lighting just took over and made it a smooth gradient across from left to right.
And also, remember, there was a lot of pink in the room itself. So a lot of the shots were reflecting like really soft pink light too. And like the bedding was pink. Some of the lamps in the room were pink. And it just came out like really, really soft and dainty. I was trying to see if I could pull up the other pieces of the shot. Oh, here we go. So here are some other shots from the same photo shoot.
And these photos are daytime, so there was light coming through the windows, kind of backlit, but still it's a white room, so the light was coming through the windows that are behind her and bouncing off the wall in front of her to illuminate her face.
Yeah.
I love these. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So that there's like a big bay window right behind me, and that backlight was just everything.
Perfect. Absolutely. Yeah. What we have another question. This one from Sheena Carey. What are the challenges of shooting different shades of Black skin simultaneously? Corey, I'm gonna chalk it up to you.
Just making sure each skin is represented respectfully. I think that's it's not hard for Black people to get it when it comes to Black photographers, because we want to make sure that skin is represented. It's just not, it's innate in us. I think we have, I'm sometimes on a butt end of that, because I'm more of the darker skin in my family, and a lot of my family is like the high yellow type. So whenever we take like photos, there's a million and one people that want to do a retake because, oh, that light ain't hitting on me. Move over here, Corey, or Tamika, you move over here, and so on and so forth. So it's immensely important. But when it comes to my personal work, it's kind of hard to even explain. It's just something that's just in me, just innate. I just want to make sure that everyone's like, given respect as far as like the colors. So darker skin is definitely going to need a lot more lighting. When it comes to the more fairer skinned individuals, not that much lighting is going to be needed. I can go back into post and try to like add more lighting for those individuals. But if it's kind of hard, or it's like anything, like if it's a difficult feat for me to try to go with, I usually try to overexpose, because then in post I can always like take away light. When it comes to trying to take photos in very low light, and you're trying to make it as low as possible, then when it comes to post, it's 10 times harder to add light and make it look natural. So that's just usually my attack on it. Mahdi, take it away from me, boss. I'm not that technically trained to explain things like that.
Real quick, Corey, I want you to know that I'm choosing to ignore you saying hi, yellow people.
I'm sorry, but you got the light shining on you. Just, you know.
I'm, again, refraining from commenting on that. I just wanted you to acknowledge that. Yep. Go ahead,
Yep.
She gonna start calling me Dontrell, y'all. So just let y'all know that.
So I'm actually pulling up a photo from a shoot. No, not that one.
Oh, so you're gonna make me start having to pull up my photos.
All right, here we go. Hey, you started it, bro. All right, so let me just share my screen quick. If it'll move quick, it might not move quick. All right, is it up? Or is it still loading?
It appears to still be loading. There you go.
All right, so in this shot, we have someone who is darker and we have someone who is lighter. And so we had two lights for this setup. You can kind of see one in his glasses. That was sort of intentional to try to make them look like pupils, but like it was a creative choice of the day of. But we really wanted to make sure that the light was sort of like, there's a way to control with the umbrellas that we were using, that by just kind of turning it a little bit towards one person versus another one, you can get more light on one person and less light on the other one. So that's kind of what we did here, where we focused the light more on the gentleman in the back as opposed to the woman in front, just so we get that accurate tone of the skin tones, but also that she's not completely blown out by the flash for his skin tone.
Yeah, and a diffuser always works really well when it comes to that. A diffuser would make it a lot softer so that the light isn't directly on it. So I think you have like that umbrella that's a diffuser somewhat to kind of stretch out the light to make sure that's evenly across both subjects.
Yep.
The shot is beautiful. Thank you, Mahdi.
No problem.
I want to go back to the other question that I had posed before we went into our tangent. Do any of you feel like the universe of Blackness is expanding? Have we moved from what Nadia wrote? Have we moved from this light-skinned, straight-haired Blackness to embrace more dark skin and natural hair?
I will go ahead with that. I think so. I think it's enough representation yet? No, which is why I'm always advocating for darker skinned women to show up in the spaces that I control, at least. And I don't necessarily always want to be the face, at least not the face of my brand. And I think it's incumbent upon us as fairer skinned individuals to do that work of bringing more brown skinned folks to the forefront and just highlighting just how naturally beautiful we are as a whole. What I do want to see more of is not these extremes that we see on runways, right? You'll see Fashion Week, there are 18 white models come down the line, and then you get one super, super dark model. And is that exactly representation? No, because there's so much that lies in between. I'm absolutely happy to have that sister there and represented and at the table, but I want more of that. I want everybody that's darker than me. I need all of those faces at the table. You know what I mean? So that's what I want more of.
That one Black person usually always is tokenized. It's like, okay, well, this is our half-ass effort of being able to have a black person.
It's Alec Weck at the end of every runway, and I hate that. You know what I mean?
And there's always that one dark-skinned woman in all the fashion runway shows. It's not different dark-skinned women.
Yeah,
exactly. It's always one, and sometimes it's just a bit fetishized because you've got this row of 20 white women, and then boom, look at her, she's so dark. Like it comes across that way, which is just even worse.
And it's oftentimes a really, really dark, bald Black woman. I haven't seen too many afros. I haven't seen enough Bantu knots. I haven't seen enough kinky twists, if they still do those, going down a runway or in editorials. But I need to see all of that. I need to see the box braids in Vogue while everybody's doing Vogue challenges. I want to see all of that.
Yeah.
No, but the gag is they put the Bantu knots on the white models.
True.
The fake dreads or cornrows or whatever. Yeah, y'all know.
Boxer braids.
Right.
That shit weird as hell.
Y'all know what I'm talking about.
But no, I want to touch on this because I think somebody commented on this a lot earlier. But CGI is not a totally new concept. But when we watched Black Panther, we were able to see the problem when it came to that's one scene, the fight scene in Black Panther, where the CGI just didn't represent the color very well. It also kind of looked off-put and just looked like they just photoshopped the head in each frame onto the suits and everything like that. CGI still need to be like worked out especially when it comes to Marvel and many other. Well, honestly, CGI isn't really used when it comes to Black people that often. When you think about it, Marvel is the only one that uses CGI when it comes to Black people.
I know exactly the scene that you're talking about. Absolutely.
I do too, and I can explain this scene because it's a lighting problem. So they're working on the effects. They're working on the effects of that film up until like days before the premiere. And when they first did that shot, it was much darker. But what happened was they just decided, like someone else decided to try to lighten it up to show more of something. I don't know what, but that's why the darkness was supposed to conceal some of those errors. And even if like you put your TV on, you're watching it, and then you turn your brightness down, it looks much better at that part because it wasn't meant to be that light.
Thank you for the explanation, expert. We appreciate it.
Right. Of course you would know that.
I have to ask, what advice would you give to someone, wanting to pick up a camera to start working in photography, and what should they be keeping in mind when thinking about the presentation and marketing of Black people and Black bodies?
I see what you did there, Lilo. You kind of made it a little dimmer and everything like that. I see. You think it's slick, but you don't slide.
Oh, I was literally just going to say, speaking of lighting issues, the sun is setting. My window is right here, so I'm going to grab my lamp and pull it closer.
Hey, there you go. Show us a live demonstration of what the lighting is supposed to do.
Corey, were you trying to answer the question, or were you trying to pull me on the spot?
Just trying to make conversation. Sorry. What was the question again?
Of course. What advice would you give to someone starting out in photography, and what should they be keeping in mind about the presentation and marketing of Black people and Black bodies?
I would always say, from a standpoint of learning the actual camera and learning how to frame your shots and how to light your shots, start in film. Don't go to digital. You're going to cheat yourself if you're trying to go straight to digital, because you're going to get that instant gratification of what a photo's supposed to look like, and you're not going to really take on the actual need of what the composition is supposed to be, or what the lighting is supposed to be, or actually being very selective of shots. You can take 1,000 shots and only use one, but you're not learning anything. Be able to take 10 great shots and be even that much more difficult in choosing which one you want to use. And then when it comes to even just just learning to be able to add that to like advertisement and just like overall works. Be very strong with the decision that you make. If you understand that you're taking photos because of lack of representation, stand on that. Make sure you coerce the situation as to where I don't know what happens to the other photos. Oh, you want the raws? Oh, these are the only raws I have of this dark skinned model. And also when it comes to sets, you create the budgets, you create the models you're going to shoot, and the people that are going to be on set helping you. So you have to be very cognitive of that when you're working with higher budget photo shoots. And then even when you're working for or assisting a bigger name photographer, hold them accountable. Let them know, like, okay, I don't think there's enough representation of individuals on this set. Can we be able to add in this person? Oh, you need a gaffer? He didn't come in or he's super late? Bet. My homegirl right here is sitting on set. Because there's also a need for Black female photographers in the industry too. There's too much of a shortage of that. And even here in Milwaukee, there's not enough Black or brown female photographers. And even the ones that are here aren't getting enough light, like JoJo herself. There's other young photographers that I personally mentor that are female photographers because one, there's not enough representation. And two, the male photographers here think they know it all. And they're not malleable enough to just want to learn. A woman will be able to take what you say and it's far exceed a lot of these male photographers here in the city. So I'm sorry if I sounded a little harsh.
No, that's totally true. That's totally true.
It's a safe space.
That's totally true. If I had to speak on like advice for people just starting out in photography, I will give a warning. My advice is very extreme, but I think in the long run, it's helpful. For the first year that you're shooting, don't post nothing. The first year, don't post nothing. Just keep shooting.
This is going to be boo-boo. It's going to be trash.
Yep. Just don't post nothing. If you are on Instagram and you're looking for inspiration, figure out why you like the photos that you like. Because that will translate directly into how you shoot. Like, it's like a correlation. Like, once you know what you like in a photograph, you'll know how to make those photographs. Look at books, look at magazines. Try not to go on Instagram too much because it's a content game and the content players are trash, but you'll find the diamonds eventually. Like, just take your time and be in your studies. Shoot all the time. Just keep shooting, keep shooting, keep shooting. Shoot anything, shoot everything. Shoot trees, shoot bowls of fruit, shoot glasses of water. Just try to figure out what is going on in the photo. Like, if you have a water cup set next to a window against a gray wall, figure out what's going on in this photo. Like, where is the shadow coming from? How will this scene change if you add in another light in the back? What if you drink half of the water, then put in and then you put in like a drop of food coloring? Just experiment, do everything. Get your friends to be in your stuff, but don't post nothing. Don't tell them to post nothing. Just say, yo, I'm just trying to work and get better. Then after that year, limit yourself to posting like a couple photos. Because I guarantee you, when you shoot 200 and you pick out that 20 that you're like, oh, these are all bangers, only two are really good. Only two. That's just facts. Like, that's it. It's very extreme, very extreme. But that's what I would suggest, because it's real easy to get lost in the game.
Thank you.
To get lost in the activities.
Out here giving photography, lighting, social strategy tips. What? Love it. Some people in the comments are mentioning some other films that are beautifully shot. Philip Euman's Burning Cane, Hale County This Evening, Fruitville Station, one of my favorite films. Lilo, what about you? What's something to keep in mind from a creative direction perspective when it comes to representation and diverse casting?
I think the most important thing for me is to make sure that you know the why behind your what. I think, like we just mentioned, with having that one extremely dark skinned model out of a slew of fair skinned white women isn't enough. So when I say figure out the what behind your the why behind your what, that means like, why am I choosing this person? What is it about this person's specific look that I want to highlight? How does what I'm presenting or what I'm putting on this person, how does that accentuate or make them look better? And how can they wear my product and make my product look amazing as well? It's not just enough to throw something on a brown skinned person for the sake of saying I have this diversity in the work that I'm doing. Just like it's not enough for me to say, oh, I casted a person of Afro-Caribbean descent just to say I have that. I always want to make sure that I'm doing everything with intention. And also, if you're somebody who, like me, is a creative and is creating jewelry or clothes or whatever it is for the person to wear, I don't like to just have a generic set of something for a model to just come and throw on. I know who I've casted for the shoot, and I'm tailoring the item specifically for that person. You can definitely tell in the shoot with JoJo, the young lady that had the orange background with the necklace. I chose that set. I made that set specifically to complement her skin tone. I made the crown that Malika was wearing with the pink background. I made that specifically for her skin tone, and also because I know Malika looks great in pink. So my biggest thing is just do all things with intention and inspect what you expect of yourself, and always be able to explain the what behind your why.
I love that. Not to be petty, but being a little petty, you saying how sometimes brands are like, oh yeah, I've got this one Black person, or I've got this one, just, Black, Indigenous, or person of color, makes me think about when white people are like, oh, I'm not racist, I have a Black friend.
Literally, it's it's the corporate version of I have a Black friend.
Version. I wanna encourage our audience, our viewers, to start sending in some of your questions. We're about to wrap up, but I have some final questions for you all before I ask some of these questions from our audience. I'm curious to know what television series or film is currently giving you guys life.
I'm gonna go first. Easily Insecure. I am counting down the days until this next episode. And not just for like the content, which is great and it's nuanced and it's beautifully shot, but just like seeing just how truthful to Black experience the series is. It's probably my favorite thing I've watched this year.
Yeah, I think the season finale is this Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe there's 2 episodes left. All I know is I'm not ready.
I'm not.
Molly's trash, but that's another conversation for another time. And I hope Issa gets all of hers. That was my 2 cents. But Corey or Mahdi, what TV series, what film is currently giving you life?
Honestly, I've just been watching a lot of cartoons lately. So outside of Insecure, I've really just been watching this animated show called Craig of the Creek on Cartoon Network, which the protagonist is a Black kid, is a Black boy, and the family is super Black. And like, I'm talking like, there's one episode where they're going through the photo album, and his grandma's like, "Yeah, I used to be in the civil rights marches. It was tough back then. It's tough now. Just like it's going there." I was like, "Oh, bet." And just some great like animation.
Can
like
you
I'm starting to
one more time, Mahdi?
Craig of the Creek.
Okay.
It's just a great cartoon. Watch it with your kids, watch it with yourself. Animation has no age limit. Just enjoy. There's lots of great content out there that's like, when you look at animation, you're just like, dang, someone drew everything in this shot, and that's mind blowing.
What about you, Corey?
I'm old, so I'm like, my friends call me a dad, so I watch put me on the spot, and I had time to think too. Black as Fuck on Netflix. Is that what it's called? Somebody please don't let me hang it.
But clearly you really wanted to say that word, so I'll let you have that.
All right, so Black AF. I haven't watched it yet, but I have a good friend of mine who's told me I need to start watching it. I promise you, I have not had time, fam. I promise you. But it's written by a show that I love and I watch religiously.
Can you Bears?
Black. Anthony. Blackish. Yeah. Blackish and Grownish. I'm way behind on that, and I love watching that. Oh, and All of Us. Or not, isn't that All of Us?
This Is Us.
This is us. Hey, but I still watch All of Us. If y'all know, y'all know. UPN used to have all the shows. But yeah, This Is Us, Blackish, and I'm about to start Black AF as soon as I can.
Nice.
I if you guys haven't seen it, I have to recommend the South African series on Netflix, Blood and Water. Oh, it's incredibly written. There are so many beautiful dark Black people, all shades of Blackness. It's shot so well. The lighting is impeccable. And it's so, I love like teenage shows and films. It's so exhilarating to see drama, like some Gossip Girl type drama, but to have Black people experience it, it's so exciting. It's so exciting. So getting back to some of the questions from the audience, we have one from Dr. Monique Liston. She asks, get ready. With the Black body being a commodified and highly digested subject in society, how do you think light can disrupt that process and create new visual narratives? Lilo, can I have you start?
Yeah, sure. I think the first time that I ever saw really, really darkly complected people photographed with light, and the first thing that I thought wasn't, oh, this is a dark-skinned person, was Moonlight and the art from Moonlight. As soon as I saw it, I was like, this is art. These are just beautiful humans, irrespective of color, although obviously considering color. I think what that film did, one, it almost proved Beyonce wrong. Like, you can put blue light on Black people and, and it just be beautiful. But I also think that it did something else outside of focusing on the body, right? A lot of the shots that we see of Moonlight are just faces or shoulder up. And it takes care to show the Black body in such a dignified way. And I think that was probably the thing that I appreciated most about it. And then as far as film is concerned, if Beale Street could talk, just the way in the front on scenes when things were very emotive, the way the light just hit the characters, it kind of like you knew something serious was about to be said or done, or that emotions were going to be pulled out of you, and it really humanized the subject. So those are probably two of my favorite examples of how light interrupts the fetishization of Black bodies.
I love that. This is now a Barry Jenkins Stan conversation.
Mm-hmm.
That him and cinematographer James Laxton have done from Moonlight and Beale Street Could Talk, like you just said. Beautiful work. Beautiful, beautiful work. Yes,
I want to stay on Barry Jenkins and Moonlight because he doesn't get enough credit ever. You can see there. I can't remember the film, but the way Barry Jenkins light the Black skin it looks so rich. It doesn't look ashy. It doesn't, like, if you look at every single person, it kind of has this like moistness to their skin that it plays throughout the whole entire movie. and it looks beautiful. It looks like visual poetry. It looks like as if I put it on silent, I can still go and know what's happening within the movie because it's intrinsicness of capturing the environment of Florida and Atlanta and how heat and humidity plays into everyday life. It doesn't look like they're sweating, but it looks like their bodies and their skin is glistening. I think that plays so much into everything, and then also just the lighting, like you said, Lilo. That lighting at the beginning and at the end, even when his mom is yelling at him, and you can see, you hear it, that within itself. That moment when his mom is yelling at him in that very narrow hallway, she has that purple light backlit from her, and then from him, he has the natural light outside as a little kid, as little, and then in the midst of all of that, you see chaos, but the music that is played during that time is an orchestra that is beautifully trying to disrupt that. That's a perfect example of just lighting, and then the emotional moment of the whole scene and everything like that. That's just it's beautiful.
Thank you. Mahdi?
Uh, there, this talk has been very emphasized on light and lighting, and I know the question brings that up, but I feel like the other part to this answer for this question is not only lighting, but also the art direction of films as well. Like everyone from location scouts to prop masters to your costume designers to your set builders, like it all adds to the look of the film. And I feel like there are some films that probably wouldn't be the same if they weren't in the locations that they were in. Like, I don't think that you could take Moonlight and put it in like Atlanta, because Miami has its own characteristic and look, and being black in Miami is way different than being black in Atlanta. Two different zones, two different feels. I just feel like when it comes to using light to disrupt that process and create a new narrative, uh it's the combo the combo of the whole. Like, you need the geographic location to tell different black stories. You need the environments that feel like your mama's house, your grandmama's house. Like, you need those environments to also shed light on the narratives that you're trying to tell.
That makes me think of and Sheena Carey actually just asked this question. I know this is old, but what do you think of the cinematography of Julie Dash's Daughters of the Dust? For those that don't know, Daughters of the Dust, it was a 1991 independent film written and directed by Julie Dash, and it was actually the first feature film directed by a Black woman that was distributed theatrically in the U.S. But to piggyback off of what you said, Mahdi, I can't help but think about, had this film been shot anywhere outside of South Carolina, I don't think the cinematography would have looked the way that it looked.
Not at all.
It's like Eve's Bayou.
Exactly. There's something so different about not only like how they shot it, but where they shot it at. The importance of location scouting, like you said, because if Daughters of the Dust was shot in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I don't think it would have had the same effect.
Mm-hmm.
We got like one willow tree, like it just wouldn't work.
It was about winter 9 months out the year. Like, it wouldn't, you're right, it wouldn't be the same.
Walking in the river, like, no, it's not the same effect.
Deacon Wilson had a question. A lot of folks are out there documenting the movement. I'd love to see the Black perspectives behind cameras. Where are you turning your eyes, and what do you see?
Okay, I think I understand this question.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you can.
Just in terms of like the work that we're making, I'm assuming.
I think the work that you're making, and probably the photographers that are the Black photographers that are documenting the movement right now.
Okay. So there are two photographers that come to mind to me, like just off top. You got his name is Greg Noir on Instagram. He's usually a concert photographer, but he's been getting some great shots in Houston just of the protest, and he took shots at the funeral for George Floyd that are just like some wonderful shots. Like he's really down there just doing that work, as well as this guy in New York. His name is Gabe Morvetta. Something. Let me look up this man's name. I don't want to get it wrong. Gabe Montera. He's also doing a lot of good shots on, like this shot on film, like on his Leica, but just like some really great shots of signs, people, what's going on in the streets of New York City. Like it's looking really good. I can actually display a photo I took at a protest this past weekend. I shot it on Polaroid, but this is the image right here. You know, it was Oakland and North Avenue. About 4,000 people came together to march for Black Lives Matter and inclusivity, intersectionality of the Black community. It's been a hot topic.
Thank you. That was a beautiful shot, Mahdi. Speaking
problem.
of Black Lives Matter, it is hard to ignore how difficult these last few weeks. I mean, I feel like every day it's hard to be Black, but these last few weeks have been extremely difficult to be Black. How are each of you taking care of yourselves these days?
I think I have a good core of friends where we just kind of hold each other accountable to get off the social media and off everything. And honest to God, like Lilo and everyone's been saying often throughout this chat, insecure. We'll sit down, we'll plan a whole day, our Sunday. We'll get together at a friend's house. We'll order food, we'll get some drinks, we'll be able to play a couple of games of Uno. We'll see the previous episode and we'll just chill and just kind of like relax. I've been trying to work out more often. I'm trying to see if I can grow facial hair. That's been failing terribly. Just other things, just trying to get my mind working, even learning things. I'm working on a new project. I just got commissioned from a museum. So I'm just definitely diving into that and just feeling inspired. Yeah, just being inspired by other young photographers here. So I try to chat and just talk with them and see what they got going on. And I ask people like, hey, you got a project going on throughout the country, and it's like, hey, let me see some of the things you got going on so I can be able to feel re-inspired. I think this time and moment, some people are feeling immensely inspired and others are just feeling drained artistically.
Thank you. Yeah, community is extremely important right now. And I'm sure your facial hair will grow.
I saw you laugh at that kind of hard. You didn't have to do that.
I'm sorry. We said this, but this is still a safe space.
Miss Fetaw, save it, okay? Just save it.
Oh, not last names. Oh man. So I've been. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. What are you doing to take care of yourself these days?
I'm taking care of myself with cartoons and video games. Man, it's really been coming in handy. I've been a gamer since 3 months ago. Had to hop into it to find a hobby to take my mind off some things. But yeah, just video games. And also there's a group of people that I link up with on Sundays. We watch Insecure virtually, and then we talk about it right afterwards in the chat. And it's a lot of fun. Monique Liston is also in that group. Dr. Monique Liston is also in that group.
Respect.
we have a lot of fun, and that's really been like keeping my weeks together too.
I love that. Also, I would appreciate if I could be added to this chat. Please.
No, right?
sure.
Don't you feel left out?
Oh, you're not in it either?
Well, no, Lilo is actually like in the group. She just doesn't watch the streams or get in the chat.
Oh, okay. Somebody text me. Sorry.
Okay. Don't play victim right now.
I too am using Insecure as a form of escapism. I think Issa just does a beautiful job of getting us so in tune with what's happening with the characters that for that 30 minutes, and this is why everybody is cursing her out and asking for hour-long episodes, because we need to forget for longer than 30 minutes that the world is imploding outside, right? But I'm using that and just deep diving into music. For anybody who knows me, I love listening to music. I have all these curated playlists on my Apple Music and on Spotify. And that's probably one of my favorite things to do, is to dive into just listening to music. And also, I know creatives are feeling drained in this time, but in moments like these, I actually lean into my craft because I use it as a form of healing. So right now, what I chose to do, because we all have our ways of giving back to this movement in this moment, is I chose to just create like a Black Lives Matter bracelet, and 100% of the proceeds of that, the sales of that bracelet, are going to an organization called Love on Black Women, and it's also going to the Milwaukee Freedom Fund, which is helping with legal fees and bailouts for the protesters. So I've really been leaning into my craft as a means of healing.
Thank you. I love that. I love that. So we're almost at the hour and a half mark, but I just want to ask these final two questions. What's something that you're looking forward to when this pandemic is over, and where can people follow you on social media and find your work? So Lilo, I'm gonna throw it back at you because you just mentioned this Black Lives Matter bracelet. And how all the proceeds are going to organizations. Where can people possibly purchase that bracelet? You know, where can they just learn more about Papyrus and Charms, yourself, etc.?
Yeah, so you guys can go to papyrusandcharms.com. That is spelled PAPYRUS AND and then the word charms.com. And you can purchase that, and you can see exactly what the brand is about. I like to say I create culturally conscious wearable art. And on social media, it's just Lilo, like Lilo and Stitch, Lilo Allen. And you can follow Papyrus, the letter N, Charms on all social media. And I can't wait to connect with y'all.
Thank you. What about you, Dontrell?
Okay.
I'm done. Okay, I'm sorry.
Woo! It's fine, Miss Fetaw. I'm waiting for Lawrence to get what he deserves from 5 long seasons of heartache. My brother had 4 long seasons. My brother had to endure. We're done. We're putting our foot down, and I hope he goes to San Francisco Bay, make millions, and get what he deserves.
On the grown man-ish.
Okay, we got 4 minutes. We're not about to do this.
Don't worry. We will do this once we're off. We're going to be in this chat still talking.
If Lawrence had his life together the first few years, things wouldn't happen the way they would have happened. Okay?
Simmer, please. He was just baking. He was letting the stuff grow. Come on now.
Both of them had to grow to get to where they are now.
Guys.
It's not just on Lawrence.
She cheated on him.
On social media.
She cheated on him. We on YouTube, so we good.
Where can we?
She cheated on him.
They both took accountability for both parts of their failings in the relationship, and they're growing.
Where can we find your work?
You can find my work at DCoreyF. Anywhere, social media, Instagram. Don't go on to Twitter because I like to pop stuff about Lawrence all the time. So if you don't like Lawrence, you don't like me, you will not follow me on Twitter. What I'm looking forward to after a pandemic is not only Lawrence, but also just being able to go to movies and being able to just be around friends and people. See my grandma and chill with her for a little bit, try to get like a nice little Sunday meal out of her with some hot water cornbread. And then just do some fun stuff.
Okay, and what about you, Mahdi?
You can find me on Instagram at Freakish Nerd. I also have a Freakish Nerd page on Facebook that I don't use too much, but hey, it gets updated every now and again. You can also, if you down for the cause, you can find me at Twitter, but I will tell you, some thoughts be flying. That's all I'm gonna say. My Twitter is my Twitter, is my piece.
Lawrence
But,
Hive. Lawrence Hive.
you already know what it is. Larry. But yeah, just I'm looking forward to not only seeing the people that I really need to see, but also, like Corey said, just going to the movies. I'm waiting for the first Bizon function out the gate. I'm gonna be in the building, going to Mad Chicken afterwards with the homies. Like, you know, it's just like I just can't wait to be back with like the people I love, doing the things we all love, and sharing space. That's been like the hardest point of all this, is not being able to share space.
I forgot to say what I am looking forward to. I am really looking forward to somebody saying, "Would you like any drinks or appetizers with that?" Like that's all I'm. That's like that, and going to the movies with my homies, like my D said, and going to Company Brewing to dance to DJ Bazan DJing all night. That is literally it. That's it.
I love that. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all in public, to showing up to more Black Lens events, and to drag Corey.
Same.
But publicly, of course.
Yeah.
So we are at the hour and a half mark.
Y'all been a fan. Y'all fans. That's cool.
Sorry?
Y'all been fans. That's cool. You too, Mikey. Don't think I don't see you in the comments, Mikey.
Y'all, we gotta go. Okay.
The minute we get off, oh yeah,
people in the restaurant. I hope you all enjoy the conversation. I hope you all learned something tonight. I hope you all laughed with me and my petty friends. Before we go, I'd like to offer a call to action to everyone tonight. We know that representation is important. We know the diverse casting is important, but so is hiring Black, Indigenous, and people of color. I encourage you to do what you can. I encourage you to donate to organizations and campaigns right now, like the Milwaukee Freedom Fund, like Leaders Igniting Transformation, like Ubuntu Research and Evaluation, like the Black Lives Matter Global Network and the ACLU, and so many other organizations that need support for the work that they're doing. I want to say thank you again to our phenomenal panelists, Lilo Allen, Mahdi Gransberry, and Corey Fells for joining us. A big thanks to the Black Lens staff for asking me to host this awesome conversation. You can follow me at Miela Fetaw on all social media platforms. You can follow Black Lens and what they're doing on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Black Lens MKE, or on their website, mkefilm.org/Black Lens. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight.